away from any other cable.
Okay, we are live.
Guys, welcome back. Okay, so if you guys are ever asking if the internet is good in New Zealand, well, here you go. We spend our lives trying to fight with those goddamn cables. But yeah, it works sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of pain.
Yeah.
All right, so while you guys are coming back in, we are going to be taking the time to go over the question that we had. All right, so Kuneko was asking about recommending some Sauvignon Blanc that he wants. He works in the vineyard. I'm sorry. He works in the vineyard and he wants to buy some Sauvignon Blanc to bring back home. Do we recommend any? I like Church Road. It's a pretty good brand that does some really good Sauvignon Blanc. That's one that I know.
Yeah.
Which one do you like?
So he's working in Blenheim. So yeah, the Framingham Winery, they do some good Sauvignon Blanc. And what's other ones are good? I feel like there's so many wineries.
Oyster Bay is pretty good as well.
Oyster Bay,
Nautilus is pretty good as well. But yeah, we're not wine experts, so we kind of like almost everything wine-wise. So here you go. Anyways, keep going through the questions while you guys are
joining back.
Yeah. So we have we had Sai that actually noticed my new haircut. So thank you. Yes, yeah. I do look really sexy.
On the other hand, my hair just keeps getting longer and longer and doesn't know when to stop.
Yeah. So Atlaf says, hey, thanks for your guide. I am planning a trip with my wife and my in-laws. We will get a rental car to keep costs down. Do you think a hostel is suitable for us? We are in our mid-30s and late 50s. So Atlaf, one of the really cool thing about hostel is that you can hire your whole bunk dorm. So if you're traveling with your wife and your in-laws and you want to save some money, just get a 4-share bunk dorm and here you go. You're all sorted. You can also get private rooms. But traveling with 4 people like that, you may want to compare hostel and motels as well. Don't just stick to just one option. So
and also, I mean, obviously it depends on you guys, but bear in mind that in hostels you're usually sharing like communal facilities like kitchens and the lounge areas, and I mean if you're cool with that, knowing that you are going to be like sort of cooking meals with a lot of other people around you and stuff, that's just how it is in hostels. Whereas if you stay in motels and stuff, usually the motels have their own sort of self-catering units and facilities, so you're more likely to get a chance to sort of have your own full private space in a motel. But yeah, it's true that hostels are usually cheaper, and yeah, if you're cool with staying in a 4-bunk dorm and just sharing facilities with all the other guests, then absolutely go for it, and you probably will save a lot of money. So
Atlaf was also asking, is there a way to see Mondum, which is Tongariro here, without having to do the crossing?
There's so many ways.
Where can you get the best views?
Okay, so you can see Mount Doom pretty much from anywhere around the Tongariro National Park, as long as it's not too much of a cloudy day, because when the clouds come over, it does cover up that sort of mountain peak. But yeah, on a clear day, you can see it from pretty much anywhere. And around the Tongariro National Park, there's actually so many different walks you can do. If you want to do something that's maybe similar to the Tongariro crossing but isn't as popular or as well, not quite as long, there's a really cool walk called the Tama Lakes Walk, which gives you a whole different view of Mount Ngauruhoe from the other side of the mountain to what you see on the Tongariro crossing. So that's probably one of my favorite walks there. But otherwise, there's loads of different short walks you can enjoy around the Tongariro National Park as well. And on backpackerguide.nz, we have an article which is something like the 15 best walks from Whakapapa, which is one of the closest towns to Mount Ngauruhoe, and from National Park Village. So just to make that clear, that's like 15 best walks from Whakapapa and National Park Village, and that has loads of different walks, and that will also say on each listing like which walks will give you views of Mount Ngauruhoe. So yeah, you definitely have lots of different options, and even on a clear day you'll see Mount Ngauruhoe from the road when you're driving through the Tongariro National Park.
All right, so we had also another question from Nami saying that, do you guys live in New Zealand now? Yes, we do live in New Zealand now, which is pretty cool. We're pretty stoked to live in this beautiful country. And we had questions from Reggie and Soul Emperor about the ETA, which is a new fee that you have to pay when entering New Zealand.
Yes.
And Laura actually did write a full guide about this and what to know about the ETA right now, because it's actually going to impact every single one of your trips starting when? In September, right?
October, yeah.
Right. So for anyone that is going to be traveling in New Zealand in October, there is going to be an ETA to pay, which is basically a fee. So I'm going to read that, and we're going to be talking about it for quite a while, just because it's new and it's very important you guys know about that. And Laura is well versed on the subject.
All right.
All right. So I'm going to read Soul Emperor's question. So Soul Emperor says, we are going to New Zealand in September. Do you think that I need to get a new electronic travel authority ETA as described in the immigration website? So the immigration website describes the ETA and it's kicking into gear in October. But let's talk about it and let's see what it is.
All right. So the New Zealand ETA is basically this. It's a new basically an electronic like fee you have to pay if you are visiting New Zealand, only on certain conditions. So if you are on a visitor, if you're visiting New Zealand as a visitor from one of the visa waiver countries, which are basically the countries that you don't need to actually physically apply for a visa for. And this is really a lot of countries, and we do list every single country on backpackerguide.nz on our NZ ETA article.
And we will list them in a little bit later in this video.
Yeah.
We're just going to give you some information first.
So if you are from one of these countries, which is most people traveling to New Zealand, then you will have to pay this extra fee for coming into New Zealand. And not only is it a New Zealand ETA, but there's also a visitor levy as well.
So a levy is a fee, something to pay, like some money to pay to enter the country.
Yeah. So so the good thing is that it doesn't kick in until October. So if you are arriving in New Zealand and anytime prior to that, you don't need to worry about it whatsoever. But if you are landing in New Zealand after October the 1st or on October the 1st on onwards, then you will need to have made sure that this New Zealand ETA has been paid for even before you board your plane or your cruise to New Zealand. If you don't have this ETA purchased, then it's likely that you won't be able to actually board your flight, and you may be given the opportunity, if you haven't bought it before, you may be given the opportunity to actually buy it on the spot when you arrive at the airport, but there's no guarantee that it'll be processed in time for your flight. And basically, all in all, it's definitely something that you need to organize before you travel to New Zealand. Okay, so the way to actually get this this NZ ETA is to actually on the website, on the Immigration New Zealand website, there is going to be a page it's not up right yet because it's actually not in effect just yet, but it will be there soon. There'll be a page on the New Zealand immigration website so that you can actually pay for this levy. Alternatively, there's going to be a mobile app. Again, it's not out yet, but if you go on the Immigration New Zealand website and search for the NZ ETA, there will be the option to download an app so that you can actually pay for it and get it processed through there. So luckily, it's not way too expensive.
So how much does the ETA, or how much is the levy? What is the fee?
Yeah, what
does it cost?
Okay, so it depends on what method you use to purchase it. So if you purchase it through the mobile app, it only costs around $9 New Zealand. If you purchase it through the website, the Immigration New Zealand website form, then it costs around $12 New Zealand. And then on top of that, so that's just for the NZ
that's for the visa itself.
Yeah. And then you will have to pay an extra fee on top of that for the IVL, which is the visitor levy. And that is around $35 New Zealand. And that's also charged at the same time, basically, as you use the mobile app.
So it will be 9 plus 35 or 12 plus 35 plus 35 on that. So now, while Laura is gathering her thought quickly, I'm just going to go over every country that is affected by these visas. So I'm going to go quite fast, and I'm going to go through different regions. So in Europe, Andorra, Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, Cyprus, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Ireland, Italy, Iceland, Latvia, Liechtenstein, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, Monaco, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, San Marino, Slovak Republic, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, United Kingdom, and Vatican City. In North America, that's Canada and the United States of America. In South America, that's Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Mexico, Uruguay. In the Middle East is Bahrain, Israel, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates. In Asia, it's Brunei, South Korea, Hong Kong, Japan, Macau, Malaysia, Singapore, and Taiwan. And in Africa, it's South Africa, Seychelles, and Mauritius. So that's all the countries which are on the visa waiver list, and that will therefore be subject to this ETA and this IVL. So IVL is International Visitor Levy. So that's the $9 plus 35 or $12 plus 35.
Yeah. Okay. So that's for the visit. For if you're on a visitor, basically you're coming to New Zealand as a visitor. But this NZ ETA also applies to people that are transiting in New Zealand if they're from a transit waiver country, and that's a whole different list of countries. Usually, people that come from sort of the South Pacific Islands or basically Pacific Rim countries, basically countries that would have a lot of connections, like flying, basically having to connect in New Zealand in order to fly back home or something. That's the countries that would also need to pay for that, for this NZ ETA. Again, we have a list of all those countries on the article, which we will be linking up to in the description below.
Now, if you're from a country which is not on this list as well, some other countries, like someone is asking right now, what about Baghdad, which is Iraq? Well, at that point, you actually need to apply for a visitor visa, and then therefore there is a fee there, and it's a different process. Those are for the visa waiver country where you don't necessarily have to apply for a visa.
Yeah, and one more group of people that do need to also pay for the NZ ETA are permanent residents of Australia. Okay, so just if you're wondering why this has sort of come into effect, like why do you all of a sudden need to pay?
Yeah, what do you have to pay to come to New Zealand?
I do have a quote from Immigration New Zealand to say why this has actually come into effect. So if you are interested, the NZ ETA is to improve the way travellers are assessed before they arrive in New Zealand and help reduce the time needed for border clearance and strengthen border security. And the IVL, which is the International Visitor Levy, is said to be a way for travellers to contribute directly to the tourism infrastructure they use and to help protect and enhance the natural environment. So that's basically what the fees are for. And one final thing to mention about both the NZ ETA and the IVL is that basically how long are they valid for? Do you have to pay for it every time you visit New Zealand? Maybe if you come to New Zealand quite often. And the good thing about that is you don't actually have to pay for it every single time. It is valid for, I think, 2 years. Yeah, it's valid for up to 2 years. So you only have to pay for it once, and then it's valid for the whole, within the 2 years, basically, that you buy it from. So, yeah.
All right. So if you do guys have any extra questions, make sure to put them in the description below. And if you're coming to New Zealand before October 2019, no need to panic. This doesn't apply to you. Again, like and subscribe. That's always help us out a lot. Let's go back to the live chat. Discover Yourself says, please explain in brief. You take a lot of time. We do like to be thorough on this channel. I'm sorry. You're going to have to get used to it or, watch someone else. We like to give you all the information we can. All right. Sohel Malek says, what is better to get tertiary education and settle, Rotorua or Tauranga? We're not an education channel here. We're a travel channel. So we have absolutely no idea. I'm sorry. We haven't studied in New Zealand and we know nothing about any of the schools around here. Charlie says, in August, I'm planning to go to Taupo. Will I be able to see Motura, Peru, and Tongariro? Well, if the weather is good, you can actually. From Taupo, you can actually see both those mountains across the lake. Only if it's a clear day, though, and it has to be also a clear day in the Tongariro National Park as well. So it's very specific conditions that you need in order to see those mountains. But you can always take a trip over there. It takes
from Taupo, it takes about an hour and a half to get over to the national park. So, but it's definitely worth traveling over there, doing a few hikes.
It's a training area.
Exactly, yeah.
Raul says, hi, both of you. Hey, Raul. He says the video clarity is not good. I'm really sorry. There is a storm coming, and that affects tremendously the video quality. As you saw, the video even dropped out completely about 15 minutes ago. It does happen. It's New Zealand. We don't necessarily have the best internet ever. Atlaf says, thank you very much for the information. He is looking at around March, April 2020. You're going to have a blast, man.
Good forward planning there.
Yeah, that's good. I like it. Discover Yourself is saying that he's coming in this October to Christchurch. He's afraid about two things. One is, can I get a job? And two, Kiwi are not racist like Australians. Kiwi are much less racist than Australians. They're actually almost not racist at all. But yeah, Australians are very racist. So yeah, it's actually the reason why I left Australia, actually. And can you get a job in New Zealand? Yes, you can. We have plenty of videos, especially about getting jobs in Christchurch. So check them out, and you got plenty of tips. Patrick says, how is the TranzAlpine Train starting in Christchurch?
Well, we did exactly that. Yeah, if you do search on our channel, in the search bar at the top of our channel, search for the TranzAlpine
We did that at
Train.
Christmas.
Yeah, we did it on Christmas Eve from Christchurch, and we actually went from Christchurch to Greymouth and back again because it was so good. And yeah, it's a really beautiful journey. It's often described as one of the most scenic train journeys in the world.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
Yeah, it is really beautiful. So if you do get the chance, definitely we recommend it. But check out that video as well and get an idea of what it's all about.
So Hel said, can you please reply to my previous question? We just did. So there's some people called Zealand honey right here. They do some really amazing honey from New Zealand. So you guys should check that out if you want a real taste of amazing New Zealand honey, because New Zealand's really famous for Manuka honey. And so some really high quality ones there. So I think it's zealandiahoney.com. I think that's the website. So check those guys out. Yeah, it's our favorite honey in the country. So here you go. If you're looking for some gifts. Hessian says, Robin, what is the best month to visit Queenstown? August or September? They're both very similar, but I would say August, because you still have some snow, and so you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly,
you kind of you get like easy kind of hikes and everything, and then you're gonna have a lot of really nice days and everything, but you still have the snow, so you still be able to jump onto a snowboard or a pair of skis or a luge if you're really into the first time I'm seeing the snow. So I personally will choose August. Which one would you choose, Laura? Technically, Eshan doesn't ask you, but I'm just gonna ask.
I would personally choose August because I personally love snowboarding and stuff. So I know that's the best month actually for that, where the conditions of the ski fields are the best. So that's definitely why I would go there as well. And Queenstown has things to do all year round. Like you can do bungee jumping any time of the year. You can do skydiving. You can do even canyoning. There's all sorts of hikes you could be doing as well. So Queenstown's really a town that it never sleeps. There's never a low season. There's always things to do. So if you just want that little bit of extra of maybe seeing some snow, then definitely August is a good time to go. And I just noticed that someone is asking what ETA stands for, as we just talked about the visitor levy and stuff like that. And we didn't actually go through what it stands for. And it's nothing really fancy. It's just Electronic Travel Authority.
Yep, so Electronic Travel Authority. How fun is that?
I know. So it doesn't really mean much. It's that's just what it's called. The New Zealand Electronic Travel Authority.
Yep. Okay. Nami says, thanks for answering my question. You're very welcome. My next question is it allowed to look for a job for hopefully future job visa one on the tourist visa? No, it's not. You do not have the right to do any job search on a tourist visa in New Zealand. You need to come here with a work visa if you want to actually look for some jobs. There are some very strict immigration rules around that.
Yeah.
Ali Liahat says, hi.
Hi.
Adil, we just told you what TA stands for. Discover Yourself, thanks for clearing my doubt.
Both Spexes and sexy and cool couple.
Oh,
that's right. That's what specs are. They're
sexy. Well, nerd is sexy nowadays, apparently. So here you go.
Well,
Patrick says, I shall check out that video. And what part of New Zealand are we in? We are in central North Island. Just because it's really, well, central, you get to go do plenty of things around, and there's plenty of outdoors activities and stuff. So yeah, that's basically where we are because that's what we like. All right. Cool. Karima, if she's still around, had another question on Instagram. So I thought we could go over that as well while you guys are warming up with some more questions. It looks like you are all about firing questions right here. I like it this morning. You guys are onto it. I like it. All right. So Karima on Instagram says, oh, and I have another question. Is it okay to go on hikes alone? I will be traveling alone, and if I don't make friends along the way, I don't want that to stop me from hiking. Is it easy to get there with buses? Thanks. All right. Yes, totally. You are absolutely safe going on hikes in New Zealand alone. You will be actually shocked at how well signposted most of the hikes in the country are. I mean, obviously there are some bush tracks and some bushwalks and everything, but it's not going to be the thing that you're going to be doing. Most of the hike that tourists do are actually super well signposted. There is no way to get lost, and there is actually quite a lot of people actually going on hikes. So you're never really alone. There is always going to be someone passing every 30 minutes somewhere. So if something happens, someone will find you.
Yeah.
Plus, on top of that, I don't think you're going to be alone.
Yeah, exactly. So there are a lot of solo travelers in New Zealand. And if you're staying in accommodation such as hostels, then you definitely will meet people while you're traveling around. Like, the hostel kitchen alone is a very sociable place. You can definitely, like, while you're, making your meals and stuff, strike up conversations with people around you and say, hey, I'm doing a hike here tomorrow. Do you want to come and join and stuff? And that's a pretty common thing in New Zealand. And definitely, we both arrived in New Zealand as solo travelers ourselves. And especially for me, I sort of did a little bit of both. There were some days where I was hiking alone, but other days I did find people that also wanted to come and join me for hikes and things. So yeah, definitely very easy to find people to hike around with, and also definitely safe to do it by yourself. Yeah, like Robin said, the trails are very well signposted, usually really well graveled. You really can't go wrong with the popular walks around New Zealand. But yeah, if you are thinking of maybe wanting to reach out and get some more people to hike with, there's definitely loads of different ways that you can be doing that. And we do have an article on backpackerguide.nz, which is like the 10 ways to meet people while in New Zealand. One of the things that springs to mind is there's a lot of backpacking Facebook groups where you can actually ask if people are available, say you're going to Wellington or Taupo, say, hey, I'm in Wellington at the moment. Does anyone fancy doing the Mount Victoria hike with me? And yeah, usually people sort of, keep in touch that way and find travel buddies.
And also, if you don't have a car, at that point, you find some travel buddies that have a car and they can drive you to the hike as well, which is, it's just so perfect.
Win-win.
You just have to pitch in a little bit for gas or bring some lollies, that's candy, sweets and stuff like that. So that's one of the way. To get to the hike. Now, a lot of places have very accessible walks, either from public transport or just literally walking distance from the city centers. Because city in New Zealand is kind of, it's a wide word. Some of them are just little towns.
Yeah.
But there are actually a lot of ways to get to hikes. You're not going to be without a car. You're not going to be able to access every single walk in the country, right? But public transports are really good. Like, for example, I remember one time we actually had our own camper van when doing New Zealand's biggest gap year. And we were around Dunedin, and we decided to take the bus to go to Tunnel Beach hike, if I remember. And it was very easy to go with public transport. And literally the stop was in between two fields. I just find it completely crazy than a city bus, which cost us like $3.20 or something, like super cheap, dropped us in between two fields at the beginning of the hike, and that was just all sorted.
Yeah.
So there's many places that you can go to just using public transport. And some popular places like Rotorua, for example, they have tourist shuttle, which are able to take you to those places very easy as well. So it's you're not going to have access to every single one of the walks, that's for sure, but you're going to have access to such a massive selection. There is no way, because we know you're traveling here for a month, there is no way you're going to run out of hikes to do in 1 month in New Zealand. You'll be able to do most of the thing you want. And you'll find plenty of friends along the way, both hostels, online, as we mentioned. You can even find friends literally when taking that public transport to go to that hike. There is a bunch of people that are probably going to get off at the same bus stop than you are, and then start walking, start chatting to people.
Yeah.
So yeah, being alone, traveling in New Zealand is never a solo experience. Laura has an amazing videos that she done about solo female travel in New Zealand. You should definitely check it out, and we'll link to it in the description below, and you know everything you need to know about that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else to add about that, or are we good to go?
Well, if you do need any inspiration for walks to do in New Zealand, we do have a crazy amount of articles on backpackerguide.nz. If you just look in our hiking section, you can check out all the different hikes there are to do in various places around New Zealand. And yeah, it has all the information of how long the walks are, how difficult it is, how much you'll see along the way, for instance, and where they are and if they're accessible from within the town or not. So yeah, if you need any inspiration, make sure to check out backpackerguide.nz.
In the meantime, like and subscribe, and I'm going back to the live chat. Lucas, say hi. Hey, good morning, Lucas. How are you doing? Patrick says, I will spend a few days in Wellington and staying in my cousin's place. Any hike that I must do around Wellington? Victoria?
Yeah, Mount Victoria's a popular
really awesome.
one. If you like Lord of the Rings as well, there's one of the walking tracks around there where they did a bit of filming for the Lord of the Rings, which is really cool. There's two really popular walks, which are quite long, but give you some really awesome views around Wellington. And there's the Northern Walkway and the Southern Walkway. And it takes you all over the place, getting you to high points so you can see some awesome vistas of Wellington. Even walking in the Botanic Gardens is a really cool place to go for a walk, because there's even areas of like native forest and stuff, which is really bizarre being in the middle of the city. But there's also some lovely gardens as well. So yeah, there's definitely some awesome places to hike around Wellington. And we do have an article on Backpacker Guide as well, which are the must-do walks around Wellington.
Yeah, we list actually 10 hikes that you absolutely have to do around Wellington. So pick the one that you fancy the most around here.
Yeah.
And look at that. It looks amazing. Boom. All sorted. Oh, well, I showed you the wrong place. Oh, well, I just made a fool of myself.
You weren't there to see that.
Let's see. Cool. What else is happening here? Patrick's asking, what is your job outside of this YouTube channel? That's a bit of a personal question. How
I feel so offended.
We do backpackerguide.nz full time. It actually is the largest travel guide in New Zealand, and there is a lot of work to be put behind that. So we actually do that every single day.
Yeah. So when we're not doing this YouTube channel and doing this live video for you guys, we actually have a website, backpackerguide.nz, which you've heard us talking about a lot on this channel. It's where we've got loads of information about traveling New Zealand, and we put new articles on there pretty much every single day. Yeah. So yeah, we work on that and just basically update that website for you guys. It's absolutely free to use as well, so go check it out. And yeah,
and we're working on some new really exciting projects. So here you go. We're going to be covering some more destinations, which is going to be awesome. So yeah, that's what we do. That's our job, and that's thanks to you guys that we can make that our job, because you guys trust us to give you the right advice and the right tips. So thanks to you guys for giving us the best job in the world. In short, thank you guys. What else is happening on the live chat? Atlaf is asking, speaking of hikes, do you need to be fit at all? Okay, it really depends on which hike you're going to be doing. You were mentioning the Tongariro crossing, for example, a little bit earlier. Now, the Tongariro crossing features the Devil's Staircase. So Devil's Staircase kind of tell you it's pretty tough. But when you go on our website, for example, which is backpackerguide.nz, and you read about each hike, we really tell you, like, is it moderate, or is it hard, or is it easy? And to be fair, even some of the moderate or even some of the hard one, like the Tongariro crossing, you don't necessarily have to be that fit. You just, it's just going to take you a little bit longer as long as you pace yourself and bring enough water. Yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, you don't have to be extremely fit to hike around New Zealand. Obviously, there are some hikes which are really tough, but it's so well kind of explained, between the Department of Conservation, which is the one that creates, maintains, and signpost and do everything about the hike, to even website like ours. We make sure to give you all the information you have. So your question is a bit generic. Do you have to be fit? Not really. There are some hikes which are literally 15 minutes on the boardwalk, and then you're totally fine with that. Yeah. And there are some hikes which are, 12 days in the bush, and then at that point, you better be Bear Grylls.
Yeah. Yeah, so usually you can tell, like, it's better to understand how long you can hike for and what you're usually comfortable with. If you're comfortable with a 5-hour hike, then yeah, it's usually very well signposted, and there's like Robin said, there's lots of information on the Department of Conservation website, on our website as well. So usually it's a good thing to just know how long you can actually hike for comfortably. And yeah, there's loads of walks that around New Zealand that are only about 20 minutes, 10 minutes.
There's so many of those walks, it's crazy.
So you can definitely, that's not necessarily a hike, but you can still stretch your legs without having to break a sweat.
Yeah. Exactly. I like that. You can stretch your legs without breaking a sweat. You can see that she's a writer. Look at that. How amazing is that? All right, Karima says, thank you for answering my question. You got me all excited about leaving for New Zealand. Keep up the good work.
You're very welcome.
First, thank you. You're welcome. But that's awesome that you're so excited about your trip, Karima. You're going to have a blast. New Zealand is an amazing country. And you're doing the right thing. You already start planning a little bit ahead, so you actually have a strong plan for when you arrive here and you make the most of your trip here. So you're on the right track. I think you're going to have a blast here. Sohel says, which one has more spots? More travel spots, Rotorua or Tauranga? I say Rotorua.
Yeah, I think so as well. Rotorua,
it's a bit more central.
Yeah, the good thing about Rotorua is that it's really central, so you can actually do lots of day trips around the North Island, whereas Tauranga's on the coast, so as you can imagine, there's a little bit less area to explore, or it takes a little bit longer to get into the central North Island. But yeah, both areas do have obviously their attractions, but I think Rotorua maybe has a little bit more to offer. It's got geothermal parks, it's got, you know, Maori cultural attractions, lots of different hikes, lakes to explore, mountain biking trails. Yeah, the list really goes on. and you can do day trips to Taupo. You can even do a day trip from Rotorua to Tauranga or vice versa. But yeah, if you ask our personal opinion, I think we'd go for Rotorua.
All right, then I agree, by the way.
Just moving on, yeah.
She's right.
Yeah.
What else to say? She's right. Patrick says your YouTube channel is amazing and guide is amazing, and I just found it this week. Oh, only just this week. Oh, should have been around for years. I hope to come to some more live stream. Well, it's at exactly the same time every week, so we'd be glad to have you on board next week as well. Thank you for the work you do. You're very welcome. We enjoy it. Thank you for giving us a job we love. Reggie says, is there anything to see in Dunedin? Okay, thing that we really like. So one of the things, guys, when you guys are asking us like things to do in Dunedin or in Rotorua, for example, you can go on the channel, and on the channel, rather than the big top search bar on YouTube, you can go just below and use the search bar there. And if you just type the name of the place you want to go to, you're going to see like about 20 of our videos about those places and things that we love there. So obviously right now we're going to give you a few ones, Reggie, but check this one out as well, because you can see us doing those activities and you see if it's what you like or not, because maybe what we love is not necessarily what you do love. So yeah, first thing I really like is the Elm Wildlife Tour. We had a blast doing that. So Elm is ELM, and they take you to see some penguins, some seals. You go to some places that you can only access with them. You can see some yellow-eyed penguins. Yeah. It's so awesome. I love wildlife. I'm so into wildlife. So that was an amazing tour.
So that tour takes you onto the Otago Peninsula, which is it's a short drive from Dunedin City. But if you are wanting to see some sort of more private conservation areas where you actually get the best viewings of the wildlife around the Otago Peninsula, then doing a tour like the Elm Wildlife Tours is definitely the best way to go. Another thing to do, maybe you think of some more central Dunedin things you can do. There's the Otago Museum, so you can spend definitely a couple of hours in there looking at all the natural history stuff, the social history. They even have an Egyptian mummy in there. They have lots of really strange but cool things. There's also Tunnel Beach, which we did just mention before. You can take a public bus out there. Can I
get one as well?
No. I'm going to keep on going. And yeah, you can go and to Tunnel Beach, where I just get so excited talking about New Zealand. Okay?
I love it. That's so funny.
Which is like it's a short walk to see some really cool coastal features like archways. There's even a tunnel going through through a coastal cliff, and then you end up on a beach with a waterfall. I think the waterfalls are more there if it's raining. But anyway, Tunnel Beach is a really awesome place to go to as well. Do you have any other suggestions?
No, that's fine. Albatross Center is pretty cool. Did you mention that?
Yes. No, I didn't.
I love the Albatross Center. So you can go there and you can see albatross, which are massive marine birds, nesting just right on the cliff. It's really amazing to see them in natural habitat. And you can also see a little blue penguins, which are coming back every evening. And it's a really amazing show as well to see. I'm really into the wildlife. So if I'm in Dunedin, I'm all about the wildlife, that's for sure.
Dunedin's definitely got some amazing wildlife stuff. There's even cruises to take you sort of along the Dunedin harbour. And you can go and spot wildlife on wildlife cruises as well. So because we are wildlife nerds, we would always recommend those things. But in Dunedin, they don't have the chocolate factory anymore, do they? But they have lots of different really cool museums. Toi Tu Museum, that's the Settlers Museum, and they have lots of exhibitions on like the early Maori settlers, and then the first Scottish settlers that arrived in Dunedin as well. There's lots of beautiful architecture around Dunedin, so there's lots of churches and some great places to just check out some really alternative architecture to what you might find elsewhere in New Zealand. The Dunedin railway station.
Actually, one of the most photographed buildings in the country.
Yes, and from the Dunedin railway station, you can actually hop onto a train and take a scenic journey through the Taieri River Gorge. Yeah, so that takes you through numerous viaducts and tunnels in quite an old school train, and you get to see some really awesome scenery along the way. So that's another cool thing to do. I think I'll stop there.
Okay, Reggie, did you have enough right here? Don't trigger Laura.
Make a whole video out of that one.
don't trigger Laura about Dunedin, that's for sure. All right, Karima says, I will be traveling through Australia as well after New Zealand. Do you know of any YouTube channel or website that cover the same amount of information that you do in New Zealand? Not really, because we don't really search about Australia very much. I'm not a fan of Australia. I'm just to be honest with you. I did a working holiday in Australia and I did one in New Zealand as well. And I really had to cut short my working holiday in Australia because I really did not like it. So I haven't done much research about it. But yeah.
It's just going to have to be some Google searching.
Yeah, for my personal experience, Australia is more about like a few big cities. So, you're not going to be seeing as much as you do in New Zealand when you travel around Australia. You're going to see one or two things. So just research about this one area. And just walk in and go to the information center over there. And you may find some information, I hope. Patrick, there's a question for you. Are you able to camp in an open field in New Zealand?
No.
Here you go.
There's very strict rules on camping in New Zealand, and that's more in order to keep the environment nice and litter-free and all that sort of stuff. So if you do want to camp, you need to go and camp in a designated campsite. These are usually very well sort of shown on the Department of Conservation website or on they have lots of leaflets in information centres where it shows you all the campsites around New Zealand. Also on backpackerguide.nz as well, we do have a camping section which will show you where all the campsites are in various different locations around New Zealand. Alternatively, you can camp in holiday parks, which are more like they've got a lot of facilities. They have laundry rooms. They have, like kitchen areas and stuff. So it's more like a sort of like a maybe luxury version of a campsite where they have a few facilities as well. So that's an option. And there's very limited amount of freedom camping sites, i.e. campsites that you just go and stay there for free. But there are a few of them around New Zealand as well. So you can definitely look them up. But in short, you can't pitch a tent just anywhere in New Zealand.
You can't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
No. Cool. All right, guys, we only have about an extra 5 minutes. So if you do have some questions, make sure to type it right now because otherwise you have to wait next week. So quick, put your questions. Sohel says, thank you very much for the precious reply by an amazing, kind couple. Oh, that's so nice.
Kind comment.
Patrick's asked, when hiking in New Zealand, are there emergency huts for sleeping in for free if needed?
On some hikes, there are.
But they're not emergency huts. You've got to pay for it if you spend the night.
No. Well, if it is an emergency, there are even some huts, especially on the Great Walks, where people don't necessarily, they're not allowed to stay in them. There's other huts for that, but there might be an emergency shelter along the way. They're usually called shelters instead, but they are kind of what is the emergency hut, but it's more on hikes that are well facilitated, like the Great Walks or those sort of things. Don't really expect that on all hikes. I wouldn't really rely on that. So basically it's best to if you're unsure about things, maybe just book a night in a hut. If you think you're going to be on a walk for a long time.
And to be fair, aside from the Great Walk, the huts are relatively cheap booking around New Zealand, right? I mean, the 10 Great Walks of New Zealand, the price of the huts are outrageously expensive, right? It's super, super expensive. And that's why actually we have an article on Backpacker Guide when we suggest alternative to Great Walks, just so you can actually, hike without breaking the bank. Because why would you have to pay that much to hike?
I know.
You're doing most of the work.
To stay in very basic huts like that costs more than staying in a motel. Yeah. So.
But that's because of the demand. That's just as simple as that. Anyway, so there are some huts. Almost every single walk. I mean, actual hike you're going to do in New Zealand, anything which is more than one day, you have huts there, and the prices range from $5, sometimes $15, but it's really cheap. It's nowhere near what a Great Walk is. So if you're unsure, book yourself a night, and so like that, or buy one of those
pass.
Yeah, a ticket. I was about to say, but one of those hut passes which have multiple nights, and it's a honor system. So I think you better spend $5 if you're unsure.
Yeah.
I mean, and
if you are in the situation where you actually need to spend a night in a hut, and there is a hut there which you do usually have to pay for. I mean, if it's an emergency situation, they're not going to kick you out. Like you can definitely stay in.
You go bleed out of my hut.
Yeah, you can definitely stay there and. You can stay there the night and pay the next day, for instance. So I wouldn't really need to worry too much about that as well. Yeah.
All right. So this is going to wrap up this live session. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us. Atlaf says thank you, and Patrick says thank you, and everybody says thank you, and thank you, guys, for making this channel what it is. Thank you very much for the 1 million views. Keep on watching our videos and clicking like and clicking subscribe, and you guys are awesome. Thank you for the 9,000 subscribers. Thanks for clicking subscribe. We do that for you guys. And obviously, check out backpackerguide.nz for more information about traveling in New Zealand. Is everything we talk about right here and much, much more, and all in detail, and linking to the right place. We put our heart and soul into this website. Now, if you guys can't catch us live, it does happen. And on top of it, well, the connection is not always perfect. So sometimes, that happens and the video cuts. You can leave us questions so we can address them during our live sessions. We do that all the time. We have them right here. And you can do that by commenting on any of our videos and say, hey, guys, I have a question for your next live session. Can you please cover? And you just give us your question. And we'll be super happy to print that out and put it into our backlog and answer all your questions. You can also find us on Instagram and on Facebook. What is the handle there?
So on Facebook, search backpackerguide.nz, and on Instagram, search @backpackerguide.nz.
In the meantime, thank you so much for joining us, guys. It's awesome to have you on board every week, and we see you next week at the same time. That's 8 a.m. New Zealand time. And if you're unsure where it is and at what time it is, we will put a link in the description below that actually tells you what's the day. And also just keep watching our videos. We put that at the end of every single one of our videos. Bye-bye.
See you later.